Occasionally we get to visit with some pretty exciting people. Lyle Waggoner is the exception. No, good morning, Lyle. How are you?
Hi, Ken. I love it. That's great.
This is kind of fun. Lyle Waggoner is the gentleman, of course, you remember, on Wonder Woman and also the Carol Burnett show. I believe Carol's show was your first, wasn't it?
Yeah, it sure was. It was as good of a break as any newcomer in the business could have asked for, but that was about 15 years ago. And I was on that show for 7 years, and after I got off to do the Wonder Woman show, it continued on for another 5. Now it's in reruns, and so I'll continue to get the question, what's Carol Burnett really like?
Well, I won't ask that.
Well, if it ever crossed your mind, I'll tell you that she is in person exactly the way you see her on television. She's warm, she's talented, she's flat-chested.
I was going to ask you, what's Harvey Korman really like?
Harvey is a charming guy. I haven't seen him in a while, but I would call him probably the most accomplished comedic actor in the business today. I've never met a person that has such imagination and creativity as both he and Carol have, and hopefully gave some to Vicki and I, too, because we learned a lot being on that show for as long as we did.
Well, you know, everybody on that show looks like a professional, and you obviously carried your weight well, too.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I hope that's the truth. I've worked on it for a long time, and we were with each other every day, and on a very high professional level. And I think I would probably have equivalent to my doctor's degree in comedic acting after 7 years on that show.
Mm-hmm. Did you have a lot of fun? I know Carol seems like she's a lot of fun, and yet I know I've talked with some people that have done some producing for the old Jack Benny show, for instance, and he was really surprised when he first came in and saw Jack talk with his writers because they would say that's good or that's very good, but nobody really laughed at the jokes. Comedy is a very, very serious business when you get right down to it.
Well, it's quite an art. There's no question about it, but we did have a lot of fun in rehearsals. We used to put each other on like crazy. One of the questions that's always asked is when the actors broke each other up, was that real or was that planned? And in most cases, it was real, because during rehearsals, if we found something that we thought would really fit into the sketch, and the other actor would break up or really get a kick out of, we would save it until we had an audience out there and they were actually taping the show, and we would try it. Now, if it worked, terrific, they'd use it on the show. If it didn't work, we still had another air show to do that we could go back to the way it was originally planned. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of the breakups that the audience saw on the shows were held back until the last minute so that we could just get that effect.
And those are kind of fun too, because I think, like during the days of live television, some of the breakup things or the unexpected were actually more fun than some of the things you had planned.
That's right. That's a good analogy. I never really thought of it that way. It did kind of bring a live feeling to it.
Mm-hmm. Lyle, let's find out what you've been doing. Well, in fact, before I get into that, you said it was a good many years ago when you joined Carol Burnett. I know you were one of these people that never really grew up in a show business family, but all of a sudden decided that you wanted to get into the business.
That's right.
I think you're from the Midwest, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm from St. Louis, out there near where you are.
That's right. You and Vincent Price came from the same town.
Oh, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I didn't know that.
And as long as we mention Harvey Korman, one of Harvey's good friends, as I still understand it, unless they've had a falling out of the ways, and I don't think so, McLean Stevenson's from Bloomington, so...
Oh, is that right? Yeah, no, they're still friends, I'm sure.
I don't know how anybody could stay a friend with McLean Stevenson.
I haven't seen Mac in a while since he's got that show, Hello, Larry, but I don't know, is it still on the air?
Yeah, I guess it is. I can joke about that because I've had some dealings with McLean Stevenson and found him to be a lot of fun, too.
He is a character and a half.
Let me talk...
What were we saying? Oh, about how I got into the business from St. Louis?
Yeah, you just decided to go out to California, if I'm not mistaken.
Decided to do it. I came out and said, hey, I'd like to get into that business, and I know nothing about it, but I'll go out and try. And I think that's one of the biggest things I had going for me, is that I didn't know anything about it, and I didn't know what I was doing, and so I did everything wrong and surprised people so much that they gave me the right answers. But you have to be very, very lucky. I would say that's a good 90% of the business is just being lucky. You have to have the talent when you do get your break. But there's a lot of talented people out here who haven't had the good fortune that I have.
Mm-hmm. So it's not the thing to do just pack up and go out there necessarily and hope that you can make it.
Well, it sounds kind of silly, but yeah. If you feel you have talent and something to offer, the only place it's going to happen is here in Hollywood. Because you can't do it in Bloomington, Illinois.
Yeah. Did you have the idea in your head that, hey, look, I'm going to make it either in so many years or I'm just going to hang it up then?
No, I never really was that organized to think that way. I just blundered on out here and figured that if I couldn't make it in this business, I could always go sell something, as I had for years before that, and make a living. But I took it very seriously, and I studied hard, and I made a lot of calls, got a lot of doors slammed in my face, until eventually I just got a break.
Yeah. Well, that's the road that a lot of people have to hoe. One of the new people from Bloomington, and I want to talk more about you too, but Stephanie Ferrisy graduated from Illinois Wesleyan University not all that many years ago, got into acting, and of course she was on The Last Resort and some shows like that, so she's kind of making her way.
As I mentioned, it can happen to anybody, but you got to get out here where it's happening.
Let's find out what's happening with you right now, because when you started, it's quite a ways away, or quite a ways back, but the gossip columnist is something that people are going to be able to tune in and see Lyle Waggoner at his most recent.
There's a new motion picture for television that will be aired. I'm not sure of the date there in Bloomington, but it won't be too long from now. And it's called The Gossip Columnist, and I have an interesting little role in it. It's a cameo role, and I took it because the character was so bizarre and funny that I thought it might be a kick to play him. And I play the part of Terry Anderson, a conceited, oversexed movie star. I thought that was kind of typecasting, so I immediately accepted. Now, he plays the part of a movie star in Hollywood who is the star of a television series where he is a blind detective and a master of disguise. Of course, the question is, how can he put on a disguise if he's blind? But
yeah, when you stop to think about that, that is an accomplishment in itself.
That's what the gossip columnist asks him, and he kind of slips that question and sees if he can get her into his motorhome for lunch. But anyway, he is so obnoxious that even his seeing-eye dog turns against him. But he's a funny character, and I had a lot of fun playing him. But there are some important people on the show. I can't really tell you that much about it because I only worked on it for a couple of days.
Lyle, do you ever find yourself doing acting? I know I've talked to several people who say that, you know, when you're doing a television part, like you say, you only work for several days, you really don't know what the whole overall picture is going to look like until it's finished.
That's exactly right. I'm just familiar with the segment that I did, and I got to meet a few of the other people that were working that day.
I think Bobby Vinton's in the show.
Bobby, yes, I worked with Bobby, and the star of the show, who was a young girl, I think, under contract to Universal, and darned if I could think of her name. But I'm sure she'll be a big name before long because she was a fine actress. Sylvia Sidney is on the show. Alan Ludden and Betty White were on it. See, Bobby Benton, Bobby Sherman was in there.
Sounds like a good cast.
Yeah, there's several other well-known people. Robert Vaughn is in it. Most of them in cameo roles, similar to what I had.
Yeah. Well, we'll definitely.
Interesting. I haven't seen it yet, and so I don't know how it all came together, but everyone seemed to be quite excited about it, and you'll get your opportunity to see it in the very near future.
We'll definitely keep our eyes open for it. As far as Lyle Waggoner's future is concerned, television, movies, people used to have trouble making the transition between the big screen and the small screen, but I guess that's not so prevalent.
I'd like to do that, but I'm more interested in television. I would like very much to get on another series, situation comedy perhaps, or an action-adventure show with comedy overtones. And I'm in line for many pilots right now, that one of which I hope to shoot within the next week or two. I did a test for a national syndicated show just a couple of nights ago. I have a movie for television that we'll do this year sometime for ABC, and then there's a feature also that we'll be doing this year with Chris George called Going to Texas. So there's an awful lot cooking. In addition to that, I've been breaking in a nightclub act that I expect to open with in Las Vegas at the Sahara Hotel towards the end of the summer. Oh,
terrific. You sing or what?
No, I have some very unique talents that few people are aware of, and I demonstrate these talents in my act.
You remain fully clothed, or...?
Oh, now you're giving it away. Yes, I do remain fully clothed.
I see.
I have a lot of stories to tell about my career on the Burnett show and some of the famous people that I've worked with, and some of the incidents that happened on the Wonder Woman show, and explain how it came about that I happened to be the first centerfold in the Playgirl magazine, and some of the funny things that happened during that camera session.
I wanted to mention that, and it skipped my mind, so I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then I play a couple of very exotic musical instruments that people find quite shocking, but entertaining at the same time. So it's to be used as an opening act for the headliner at the Sahara Hotel. The headliner may be anybody from Helen Ready to Share.
Mm-hmm. Well, listen, it sounds like you're plenty busy, and we wish you a lot of luck in the career.
Thank you, Ken. Good luck with you on your radio show going on there in Bloomington.
Okie doke. And maybe I hope we get to talk again sometime, Lyle.
That would be nice. You have my number.
All right. We'll keep watching for the gossip columnist on ABC.